Myself M. Gunakar, Assistant Professor of Zoology, Government Degree College, Siddipet, Telangana State. Today, let us discuss the calotis nervous system, that means structure of the brain. Calotis is commonly called the garden lizard. It is a common animal that represents the reptilia in the oriental region, and in the oriental region it is found everywhere. That's why calotis in most of the Indian universities it is regarded as a type study. Regarding the nervous system of calotis, when compared to the amphibians, it is basically resembles the amphibian brain. However, it shows some advancement because of the terrestrial mode of life. The nervous system consists of the common three divisions: the central nervous system, which is formed by the brain and spinal cord; peripheral nervous system, which is formed by the cranial nerves and spinal nerves; autonomic nervous system, formed by sympathetic and parasympathetic systems. Now, coming to the brain, the structure of the brain in calotis is simple and similar to that of the frog, but comparatively it is more advanced in the relatively greater size of the cerebral hemispheres and smaller size of the olfactory lobes. The brain lies inside the cranial cavity and covered by two membranes, which are called meninges, the inner pia mater and the outer dura mater. In between these two membranes, there is a space which is filled with the cerebrospinal fluid. Usually, the brain is divided into three divisions: forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain, otherwise called as the prosencephalon, mesencephalon, and rhombencephalon, respectively. The forebrain is formed by the olfactory lobes and the cerebral hemispheres and diencephalon, a pair of olfactory lobes followed by a pair of cerebral hemispheres, and a diencephalon is present in the forebrain. Midbrain is formed by a pair of optic lobes, otherwise called as corpora bigemina. Hindbrain is formed by a cerebellum and medulla oblongata. Now, forebrain, as I already said, it is formed by the one pair of olfactory lobes or olfactory bulbs, and is one pair of cerebral hemisphere and one unpaired diencephalon olfactory bulbs. The anterior most part of the forebrain is in the form of two narrow elongated stalk-like olfactory peduncles, and at the end of the anterior most part of the olfactory peduncles there is an olfactory bulb or olfactory lobe from which originates the olfactory nerve. So when we observe the figure, we can see an olfactory peduncles are present. Olfactory peduncle. So the olfactory peduncles. At the end of anterior end of the olfactory peduncles, olfactory bulbs or olfactory lobes are situated, and from the olfactory lobes anteriorly the olfactory nerves arise. Coming to the cerebral hemispheres, these are also a pair of cerebral hemispheres are present, 1 and 2, and these two cerebral hemispheres, they are attached anteriorly with the olfactory lobes by their olfactory peduncles. They are narrow in front and broad behind. They are closely applied but clearly demarcated by a mid-dorsal groove, the median longitudinal fissure. The thin roof of the cerebral hemisphere is termed as pallium. It is thin and vascular, but when compared to the amphibians, it is somewhat thicker and containing more number of neurons. The floor is thick and the sides form the corpus striata. The two corpora striata are connected together by a transverse anterior commissure. Above the anterior commissure lies the hippocampal commissure, connecting the hippocampal regions of both the hemispheres. Now coming to the third part of the forebrain, which is called as the diencephalon. This is the diencephalon. It is also called thalamencephalon. It is a small rounded area covered between the cerebral hemispheres and the optic lobes. It is hardly visible dorsally. Its roof is thin and is called as epithalamus. It is non-nervous and highly vascular, which forms the anterior choroid plexus. From the dorsal surface of the diencephalon, a median outgrowth projects the pineal apparatus, which contains an anterior parietal organ and a posterior pineal body, also called epiphyse. The thick lateral walls of the diencephalon form the optic thalami, and the thick floor is called hypothalamus. On the ventral side of the diencephalon, an infundibulum is present. Behind the infundibulum, a pituitary gland or hypophysis is attached. In front of the infundibulum, the two optic nerves cross each other, forming the optic chiasma on the ventral side. So these are the optic chiasma, and this is the infundibulum and hypophysis. Now coming to the midbrain or mesencephalon. It includes two large rounded optic lobes, 1 and 2. These are placed dorsolaterally. The thick longitudinal bands of nerve fibers beneath the optic lobes are termed crura cerebri. Then coming to the hindbrain, which is formed by the cerebellum and as well as medulla oblongata, as I already said. It is the most posterior part of the brain. The cerebellum or metencephalon is not well developed. It is a cerebellum, this is the cerebellum. It is thin and narrow, flat, semicircular ridge covering the anterior dorsal surface of the medulla oblongata. Coming to the medulla oblongata, which is the posterior most part of the brain, and this is a triangular structure. Here this is a medulla oblongata, and which has broad in front but narrow and tapering behind. Its thin and highly vascular roof forms the posterior choroid plexus. Posteriorly it shows a strong ventral flexure where it passes into the spinal cord. Now coming to the cavities of the brain, let us see the cavities of the brain. Calotis brain also is a hollow organ with internal cavities known as ventricles. The first and second ventricles are present in the cerebral hemispheres and also called lateral ventricles or paraseals. And when we see the figure, these you can present. The paraseals are present here. These are paraseals, and these two paraseals, they are connected anteriorly to the cavity of the olfactory lobe of its side called rhinocele. These paraseals are connected to the rhinocele of that side. Posteriorly, the two paraseals communicate through a small aperture called foramen of Monro. This is the foramen of Monro, and through which it connects to the third ventricle, which is present in the diencephalon, called diaceal. It is connected, or the diaceal is connected to the fourth ventricle. The diaceal is connected to the fourth ventricle or metaceal that is present in the medulla oblongata region through iter, which is also called sylvius aqueduct. The cavities of the optic lobes are called optoceles, and these are also connected to the iter. The cavities of the brain are continuous with that of the spinal cord. They are filled with the watery cerebrospinal fluid secreted by the choroid plexuses. The brain is composed of an external grey matter made of nerve cells and an internal white matter made of nerve fibers, but in the medulla oblongata, the white matter is external and the grey matter is internal. Now coming to the functions of the various parts of the calotis brain. Now olfactory lobes, the main name itself indicates they are the sense of they are the organs of smell, but somewhat they are poorly developed. I can't say poorly developed, but when compared to the higher organisms, somewhat less developed. Now cerebral hemispheres, they are responsible for voluntary movements, instinctive behavior, intelligence, will, memory, emotions, etc. Whereas the diencephalon, it relays impulses to cerebral hemispheres and it integrates the autonomic system functions, and it perceives extreme cold, heat, pain, hunger, all these things. Then optic lobes, they are the organs of vision. Cerebellum is held responsible for voluntary movements and balance, and medulla oblongata is a center of involuntary movements. The spinal cord is long, whitish and somewhat dorsoventrally flattened tube, which is the second part of the central nervous system. Its structure is of typical vertebrate plan and closely resemble that of the frog. The meninges covering the brain are continuous over it. Its section has a characteristic H-shaped pattern of the grey matter with well-developed dorsal and ventral horns. A shallow mid-dorsal fissure and a prominent mid-ventral fissure are also present. Its central canal is filled with the cerebrospinal fluid and is continuous with the fourth ventricle of medulla oblongata. The spinal cord is it controls all the reflex activity. Thank you.